UND has named a starting quarterback. Much more on Jerry Kaminsky starting against Kansas State. Plus a deep dive into what we got coming up for the FCS season with Craig Haley. Hot Mike starts now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to the, we're starting to figure it out edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra. KSFL, good morning, everybody, in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City, and Inforum.com. Happy Tuesday, everybody. August the 26th. Big day in our house. Happy birthday shout out to Cooper the dog. He turns 10 today. Officially old man status. Also, happy birthday shout out to my father-in-law, Randy, who watches every day. I know he's watching this morning, so happy birthday, bud. I'm sorry the Twins couldn't win for you last night, but that's on rinse and repeat here for the next month and a half. Welcome to the show, everybody, on a beautiful Tuesday morning. Great to be with you on a packed day. You know, we got it rolling yesterday. Felt good about our show. We had a lot happening as game week is officially here. If you missed it, our first Bison video blog is up now with Jeff Kolpak and myself to get you ready for the Bison opener with the Citadel. As we get ready to head down to Charleston. Later today, Tim Polasek will have his season opening press conference. You'll see it live on WDAY Plus and Inforum.com at 1:30 to chat about how fall camp went. Look ahead to the opener with the Bulldogs, and apparently some pretty nice weather that we're going to run into when we get down to Charleston. We'll have more on that later on in the week, including a boots on the ground report from one of our favorite guests later on in the week in Charleston. So that's exciting. We're looking forward to that. And then we're going. Ready to go for our fifth year of being the TV home for North Dakota State football. And excited we get to do 9 games this year, which is... I'd like to say we keep that up, but you never know with how television keeps changing and with companies vying for certain rights. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case going forward, so we're going to enjoy every game that we have a chance to do here in 2025. Lot to get to today. I mentioned in our tease, UND's quarterback situation is at least defined for its opener. You're going to hear from Eric Schmidt coming up here in just a few minutes on after his opening press conference yesterday. They made their announcement that Jerry Kaminsky is going to be the guy. And highly touted guy that came out of Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, one of the top high school football programs in that state. And redshirted, got beat out for the job last year by Simon Runfo, and now has won the job. He'll be the guy Saturday night when the Fighting Hawks take on Chris Kleiman and Kansas State in Manhattan, which we'll get to in a bit. Also, the Vikings keep on making trades. Kwesi has been a busy man. Third trade in a week that went down late yesterday. The Vikes have added some picks. We'll get into that here later on in the show. It seems like they are poised to make a move. Another one for a wide receiver. They've also made a bunch of cuts. Cut down day is today. 3 o'clock. Everybody's got to be down to 53 players on the roster. We know a few Bison have been cut already. Eli Mostart was let go from Jacksonville. Nick Kubitz was let go from Atlanta. We're keeping our eyes on that. A couple of Lions, I think, with Zach Johnson and Mason Miller. We'll double-check on that. But we'll find out who's making rosters here. And if who gets let go, that to me is the more intriguing part. For maybe the Vikes don't have to overpay to go get 35-year-old Adam Thielen back with Minnesota. We'll get to that coming up later on in our program as well. Now, full disclosure, we're going to do the highlights of the Twins here. I didn't watch a single minute of the game. I'm going to tell you that right now. I did not, because they've lost 11 of 14. I can't even tell you it's going to get any better in 2026. I watched the Mets win last night. Anytime they can beat the Phillies, we're going to slam dunk that, and they won impressively, even though I've already given up on them. That's perfect super is. Yes, the Twins did play last night in Toronto against the Blue Jays last night. Actually, we should show you Toronto because Toronto's got a chance to be a player in the postseason this year. The Blue Jays are good. And Joe Ryan, by the way, has been bad. His last couple starts, he's been rocked. Bo Bichette, which, how old am I that Dante Bichette's son is a star, got it started to make it a 1-0 lead. This is a bomb the opposite way from Alejandro Kirk for a 2-run shot. Made it a 4-0 Toronto lead. They got up 5-0 for Matt Wallner. Got in one. By the way, raise your hand if you knew that Max Scherzer pitched for the Blue Jays. Anybody? Apparently he pitches for Toronto. Former Met great Max Scherzer makes it 5-1. George Springer delivers with an RBI hit. Joe Ryan gave up 6 earned runs last night. That made it a 6-1 Toronto lead. It's 6-2 when Wallner loves playing at Skydome. It's always going to be Skydome to me. 2-run shot. Think you got all of that one? Off of Scherzer. Makes it a 6-4 score. But Toronto would blow it open here on this base hit from Nate Lukes with the bases loaded. A 2-run double. That made it 8-4. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would add a 2-run hit to make it 10-4. Fittingly enough, Canadian Eddie Julien made the final out of the game. Blue Jays roll 10-4 the final last night. Twins drop to a season-worst 13 games under 500 now at 59-72. As you see on the screen, they've now lost 9 of 11. They've lost 11 of 14. Maybe more concerning than anything is Joe Ryan, his last couple times out here. After he was brilliant with a start against the Yankees 2 weeks ago, went into the 7th inning and struck out 7. Last 2 outings, he's not made it out of the 5th. 4 innings against the A's, gave up 7 runs, 5 hits. Last night, 5 innings, gives up 7 hits, 6 runs. Going the wrong way. ERA over 11 in the last 2 starts here. So it's ballooned now to 3.22, mark of 12-7 on the year. To me, I'm way more interested to see, over the weekend they brought up Walker Jenkins to St. Paul. You know what? Bring him up. Let's just see what we got in September. I know they're not going to do that, but the Twins' top prospect is now in St. Paul. Have to imagine that stays healthy, which is a big, cross your fingers on that because he's not been able to, that maybe by spring training 2026, he breaks with the Twins and goes north with them. That would be the hope. That's what we're clinging to now, folks, is how many times have we heard that, Twins fans, over the last 20-some-odd years as we're banking on a prospect to come up and save the team. It's not looking good. There's a couple of recent athletic articles as well. If you really want to get down to the dumps about the baseball team, I would encourage you to read because it may not be done in terms of slashing of payroll. Dan Hayes reported from the Athletic yesterday that they could drop another $30 million on top of what they've already done. Things aren't looking good for the baseball team in Minneapolis right now. I mean, on top of the fact Taj Bradley got beaten, we didn't even show it yesterday, got his brains beat in. The news that they got picked for the Field of Dreams game got completely smashed over the weekend because the Vikings are going, which I imagine there will be a decent amount of Twins fans will go. The game in Dyersville, Iowa. I would love, that'd be really neat to do that as a Field of Dreams nut that I am. That's it. That's all you got to look forward to right now. Because there's not much else going on out there. And now that Joe Ryan's getting his brains beat in, and this comes on the heels of a story that Joe Ryan is having one of the best seasons by a Twins starting pitcher in 25 years. Since then, not great. So all we can look forward to is maybe baseball expansion, and the Twins are playing in the same division with the Brewers, the Cubs, and the White Sox. That's where we're at. All right, let's shift gears, chat some football. Yesterday, Eric Schmidt, new head coach, University of North Dakota, announced that Jerry Kaminsky is going to be the starting quarterback for the Fighting Hawks for their opener on Saturday night in Manhattan, Kansas, against Kansas State University. And you're going to hear from both players, or both the head coach and Kaminsky here in a second. And this is a highly touted guy. When Kaminsky signed, or when he committed, this was big news that, okay, here's a guy that they are excited that they got in, redshirted in 2023, did not win the job last year. That went to Simon Run. I think we were all surprised that Simon Runfel won the job in Bubba Schweigert's final season. And now he's going to get a chance to play against an FBS school right out of the hop. We don't know yet who QB2 is. Kaminsky is 6'2", 210 pounds. His dad, Brian, an all-time great high school head coach at Sun Prairie. He has thrown, as you saw, a total of 5 passes in 3 games. He played against Murray State, San Diego, and Northern Iowa last year. Those were 3 of the UND victories they had a season ago. 4 of 5 for 28 yards after he redshirted in 2023. And remember, the quarterback room last year at UND, Rumfo won the job. Kaminsky was the backup. And then Trey Feeney ended up transferring, left UND right before the season began, transferred. Now he ended up at St. John's. Rumfo, as we know, missed quite a bit of time in the offseason, was not available for spring football with a shoulder injury. They brought in, we know, the San Diego State transfer in Javance Tuobato Johnson, who I think obviously had a relationship with Eric Schmidt. From what I have learned and others, was paid pretty well in NIL money to transfer and did not win the job, which might be alarming in its own right if they paid that much and didn't get it. We'll dissect that. We're hopeful to have Coach Schmidt on the show hopefully tomorrow to dissect this decision. As it is, this is from yesterday. You're going to hear from Schmidt on why he decided to go with Kaminsky, and from Jerry himself about now being the UND starter.
Jerry Kaminsky will take the first snaps here on Saturday. Really felt like he's earned it. He came into fall camp probably in the lead. We felt like he improved the most from January throughout spring practice and left spring practice as the most consistent guy. I thought Javance and then obviously getting Simon back here in fall camp really started to close the gap there. Everybody who's been at practice, there was, it was highly competitive. Like I said, there was a lot of positions that were highly competitive for us, and really thought that, as it was going through, Simon was getting better, and Javance really, I think, practiced maybe 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We were like, hey, it's still up for grabs here. I thought the last week, Jerry really settled in, still was running our offense like super, efficiently. I think, the other thing I really like about him, Javance, really all of our quarterbacks, is no matter how, experienced we are on the offensive line, I just think that your offense is going to take on the personality of your quarterback. And those guys have really grown, I think, just in a leadership role. And then, like I said, the last probably week here, I think Jerry's kind of settled in and been, back to kind of where he was leading into training camp. So very close. We've talked to all those guys. We could play multiple quarterbacks at any time. So excited for all those guys to be able to, help our offense move the ball. But Jerry will take the first snaps on Saturday.
It was awesome. Me and Coach Frichte sat down one-on-one. And like him and Coach Schmidt said, I went through this last year competing in a quarterback battle, so I've been on the other side of it. That was a tough conversation last year, so going into it again, not really knowing what to expect, I think it was an awesome conversation, and there's a lot of trust there that no matter who they sent out there, they were making the right decision, and the decision that was going to win us the most football games this year. I'm excited. These are the games you dream about as a little kid, and growing up, I pictured myself playing in these games, and then obviously you're at North Dakota. These are the games. These are one of the ones you circle on the calendar along with all the other Dakota schools. This is a huge game, and these are the games you grow up wanting to play in, and this is the dream scenario. I'm excited.
Do you feel like you took anything away from you maybe didn't play, but you were at Iowa State, maybe Boise State the year before? What have you learned from these big environment games maybe that can be useful for you on Saturday?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just to relax. I mean, Simon did a great job throughout the week and just preparing, and I sat in every meeting with him and came in early with Simon. So just being able to go through that with him last year and really see how he approached things and then how Tommy approached things the year before. I mean, they did a great job of just relaxing and get everyone around us to relax. So I think that's the biggest thing.
So appreciate it, our guy Tom Miller, with that question there to end about, obviously, the environment that Kaminsky's going to play in. Just a little bit more background. And, gosh, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, we may have had him on. I think I was on vacation, but I think we got him when he verbally committed to UND on the show back in 2022. Wisconsin Offensive Player of the Year. Won the Dave Craig Award, which goes to the top senior quarterback in the state of Wisconsin. 62% of his passes as a senior. Threw for nearly 2,800 yards and 40 touchdowns. Also ran for 5 scores. Mark of 30-4 in high school. And again, it's high school. Setting school records in passing yards, touchdowns, single season yards, single season touchdowns. Of course, playing for his dad at Sun Prairie. Interesting to note, one of his former teammates now plays at North Dakota State. That's Cortez LeGrant, running back who was at Minnesota, then transferred to NDSU this year. I know because he posted something. He was pretty excited for his former QB to win the job at North Dakota. Now it's going to be really interesting. Remember, K-State played on Saturday in Dublin. They're trying to get their legs back under them. This is not going to be anything new for Chris Kleiman and facing a Missouri Valley Football Conference team, though UND is not what UND was. They're not running the 3-4. Schmitty's changed everything up defensively. Different quarterback there's no tape on this guy, right? Rumfo played the entire season last year. I mean, Kaminsky got in for what? What do we say? 5 plays, 5 passes? So there's nothing to go on. No Bo Belquist out there. So there's a lot of unknowns surrounding this football game. Awfully intrigued to see how this goes. Frankly, I'm surprised. I think if you would have told me back in April when they got Tuapata Johnson to transfer from San Diego State, like, okay, that's going to be the guy. And he's not, is a bit surprising. But obviously they saw something throughout camp. And Schmitty said it, that Kaminsky was the leader leaving spring ball, and somebody had to go and knock him off, and that did not happen. Very intrigued about that one Saturday night. We'll be hopefully back to see the second half of that game from Charleston on Saturday. We have a packed show coming up for you here on this Tuesday. We got 2 of our usual Tuesday guests joining us. Mike McFeely will be along at 9:35. We'll chat with Michael on the Bison opener, plus much more on Carson Wentz signing with the Vikings. Mike covered Carson as much as I did in the early days of his NFL career, now playing in Minnesota. We'll do that at 9:35. Our guy Craig Haley is back with us at 10 o'clock to preview the 2025 FCS season at large, discuss the Ivy League finally getting a playoff berth, how that could affect the postseason, and some other big topics around FCS football. That's coming up at 10. And at 10:35, back for another year. He's been head coach at MSUM since 2011. Every year I've had a daily show, whether it be on the radio or TV, Steve Laqua has joined us, and he will start another year as the head football coach at Minnesota State University Moorhead. The Dragons open up their season on Thursday. He gets on a bus tomorrow for Marquette, Michigan. He's got to love that. We'll preview that and the NFL attention around his quarterback. It is legit. We'll discuss that at 10:35. That and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Tuesday morning. We come back. The Vikings are wheeling and dealing again. We'll give you the lowdown on who they've dealt, what they got back, who they could still trade. Hot Mike, back after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com. Off and rolling here on a busy Tuesday morning. Mike McFeely will join us in about 10 minutes' time. Looking forward to our conversation with Mike as usual. All right, so yesterday, if we thought the Vikings have been busy over the last couple of days, and they had been with the trading of Harrison Phillips to the Jets that went down last week, then the trade of Sam Howell that went down on Sunday as the Vikes cleared out their quarterback situation. Well, Kwesi wasn't done just yet. He made a deal yesterday for another guy that they drafted that they're moving on from, in cornerback Mekhi Blackmon out of University of Southern California, who missed all of last season after he tore his ACL, I want to say, on the first day of camp a season ago. And traded him to the Indianapolis Colts for a 2026 sixth-round pick. So, the Vikes now, let's just, over the last handful of days, this is what they have done. They moved on from Harrison Phillips. They moved on from Sam Howell. And they moved on from Mekhi Blackmon. They have received a 2026 fifth-round pick. They got that for Howell, which is pretty darn good. They got that from the Eagles. They got a 2026 sixth-rounder for Blackmon. They received a 2027 seventh-round pick as well. And they now have 11 total picks in the 2026 draft, which may be null and void by later today if they decide to make a move on a wide receiver. All told, for next season, they have their first-round pick, they have their second-round pick, and they have their third-round pick. They also are going to get a third-round pick as a compensatory for Sam Darnold signing with the Seahawks. They're projected to get a fourth-round pick if Daniel Jones plays as much as we were talking about last week, now as the starter of the Colts. Have a fifth-rounder. Have a fifth-round pick that they are projected to get for the loss of Cam Robinson. Fifth-rounder that they got for Sam Howell. The sixth-rounder that they got from Blackmon. And then 2 seventh-rounders because they got another seventh-rounder in the Cam Akers trade with Houston. They don't have their own fourth-round pick. That went in the Cam Robinson deal to Jacksonville last year. Remember, they traded for him after Christian Darrisaw went down in the Rams game. So what does this all mean? Okay, well, great. They got a bunch of picks. Do we have any trust in Kwesi using the picks? Because his drafts have, what do we say here, 2022 draft, he's got one player left on it, and that's Ty Chandler. He may not make cuts today through that. And we'll see if who else potentially may not make it through there. Now, the Vikes have been exploring, as we know, trades for a receiver. This is from Ben Gessling in the Star Tribune, with Addison out for the first 3 games, Jalen Naylor dealing with the hand injury that happened during joint practices with the Panthers. The Panthers and the Vikes have not been able to come to an agreement on compensation for Thielen. If there's been rumor out there to trade a third, no, you're not trading a third-round pick, Fran. Do not for 35. We would love to have the Bismarck, Detroit Lakes local connection back, but no, that's way too much there. Granted, the Vikes still may have some issue with cornerback depth here. Just looking at the strip, what they did for their roster projections, at quarterback is J.J. Wentz, Brosmer. Running back, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Xavier Scott, and C.J. Ham. They do not have Ty Chandler making the team, which would mean that the entire 2022 draft class would no longer be on the Vikings. Wide receiver, they have Jefferson, Naylor, Lucky Jackson, Ty Felton, and Miles Price. Felton is the, I think, third-round pick that they drafted out of Maryland this past year. At corner, which is the other, or defensive back, they have Byron Murphy Jr., Isaiah Rodgers, Jeff Okudah. Now Blackman's out of there, so you can't project him. Dwight McGlothern, Harrison Smith, Josh Metellus, Theo Jackson, Jay Ward, Tavier Thomas. And Oscar Chapman, by the way, did not make the team. He got cut, so Ryan Wright's going to be the punter for the Vikings in 2025. I like the aggressiveness. I always say I love that with Tip Conley with the Wolves. It's such an anti-Minnesota pro sports deal, like with the Twins, who are never aggressive and go anything. Conley has consistently done that with the Wolves. Kwesi has done that, certainly trade-wise with the Vikings. The trading for T.J. Hawkinson a couple years ago. The trading to get Cam Robinson last year to make the team better. Appreciate that. That's what you like to see. I do not think they're done. I think they're going to make a move at they have to wide receiver. You can't go into the season knowing that that's your wide receiver room. It can't be just Justin Jefferson and 3 other guys. Not for the opener against the Bears, not for Atlanta, and not for, I think, the Bengals is week 3. That's not going to work. We mentioned off the top, it is cut down day. There is another Bison that did not make a team. Ian Rappaport reporting that the Falcons are releasing Easton Stick. Stick, who got the most play of any of the Falcons quarterbacks during the preseason, signed a deal with Atlanta in the offseason. Atlanta has had a, shall we say, murky quarterback room at best. They still don't know what they're doing with Kirk Cousins. Was Cousins even on the sidelines during the entire preseason? That part we don't even know. But Easton will not be part of Atlanta's situation going forward, with Michael Penix Jr. going to be the guy moving forward. So, tough news there. Again, it's a business. We'll see what transpires, but Ian Rappaport reporting that Easton Stick released by Atlanta. And again, teams have to get their rosters down to 53. So, for a guy that's got experience, got a feeling he might hook on with somebody. We'll wait and see what happens. We're due for a break. We come back. Our guy Mike McFeely will join us to look ahead. Bison football season begins on Saturday. Get his thoughts on Carson Wentz coming back to Minnesota as well. That's coming up on a Tuesday morning edition of Hot Mike. We're back after this.
Oh, it's Mr. McFeely.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimsley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Let's do some broadcasting.
Yeah. We'll do some broadcasting with our guy Mike McFeely. Joins us each and every Tuesday at 9:35 as we are ready to roll with Week 1. Although you were ready to roll.
I was doing this to you.
Appreciate that.
I'm doing the golf tip of the cap.
You were ready. I got my first college football text message, I think, at 12:30 on Saturday during Incarnate Word and Nichols.
I think what I said something like, wow, is this great football?
That is, with some other expletives maybe thrown in there.
I can see why Incarnate Word is ranked number 5 in the country. They look really good.
Oh, man. Yeah, that did not go well for the old Word on Saturday.
No. But
pick 6, a whole disaster there.
You know, you and I have gone back and forth about the polls and all this other stuff. It's in this era of college football, you just don't know. Yep. I mean, you do not know. And I'll say that about Incarnate Word. I'll say that about the Citadel. I'll say that about North Dakota State. We have an idea maybe, but the Word was awful.
They were not good, man.
Gracious.
No.
Woo,
that was
baby.
That was not a great debut.
But we until the second or third week of the season, things will sort themselves out, and you can kind of see what teams have. And you know what? By December, you know who the 4 top teams are going to be?
Let me think.
Montana State, Montana, North Dakota State, and South Dakota State, and the 5th one might possibly be South Dakota.
Huh.
Yeah, and in no particular order. I'm not saying one's. but those are going to be the top 5 teams.
Wow.
When the playoff pairings get announced in November. So all this other stuff, oh my God, Sacramento State, they have 65 FBS transfers. Oh my, they're going to be awesome. No, South Dakota State's going to roll them by 3.5 touchdowns.
Yes, correct.
Next Saturday, and by the end of the year, it's going to be the same 5 teams. We're all going to be going in Fargo. We're going to be going. God, let us get out of this subdivision. And everybody else is going to be going, oh, it's awesome.
So great.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That home semifinal against the Word in December in front of 4,000 people when we beat them 55-14. Why would you want to leave that?
Because we're going to Nashville this time. Well, with that, all right, Eric, let's call it. We're all good. Wrap it up here. I got nothing else. Here's the horse, and here's me. Waka, just
put that meme out there, that GIF out there,
But
me beating the dead horse.
It leads to something we were talking about last week with a text exchange we had, which is always great talking on television about private conversation. But we just don't, like you've mentioned, Jerry Kaminsky's going to start for UND. We don't know how that's going to, Kansas State, we don't know how K-State's going to react after the game in Ireland. I don't know about Iowa State, South Dakota. When we saw the game scheduled, right?
Yeah.
And we knew what South Dakota had in December of 2024. Like, okay, that's got my attention. I don't know how good this game will be now on Saturday.
It's all of this. So Iowa State's defense looks pretty good
Pretty
to
good.
me.
They look pretty good
to me.
Yep.
We don't know about South Dakota's offense, even though we've been told that every transfer there is the greatest in the history of the world. We just don't know that. And so there's a chance that South Dakota struggles offensively. There's a chance that Iowa State is coming back from Ireland off a huge game.
Big time
I think they have
win.
Iowa then after.
Correct.
So South Dakota, good for them.
Total sandwich.
Is sandwiched in between a huge game and a huge game. And so as much as these coaches want, as much as Matt Campbell's going to say, well, this is a fine South Dakota team, we're not overlooking these guys at all. The players go, oh, it's an FCS team from South Dakota, big deal.
Correct.
And so it maybe it's a trap game for the Cyclones, and maybe South Dakota's way better than they were with even before they lost 5 All-Americans. Who knows? Maybe they are. I have no idea. We just don't know.
No, we don't.
And in Grand Forks, I don't know.
We really don't know there.
No.
Defensively is all new. They changed their whole structure of what they're doing defensively.
Well, but you're talking about the quarterback situation. Simon Rumfo was the guy last year, and when we saw him in Fargo, I would say it was clear there was some limitations there as to what he can do.
Couldn't do. Yep.
So they went out. The first thing that Eric Schmidt did was go out and get a transfer from his previous place. Yeah. I'm making an assumption. I don't have it as fact. I'm making an assumption that they paid him some money to come here, and he didn't win the starting job.
Right.
And so the guy that got beat out last year by Rumfo is now the starter, and which is, you can improve, you can get better. It happens to everybody, but that, we'll see. And just like Maurice Drayton was saying yesterday, they'll probably play 3 quarterbacks on Saturday against maybe UND, maybe Eric Schmidt and Isaac Frichte play 3 quarterbacks in Manhattan.
I think that's probably
and just to kind of see what they have. You're trying to win the game. Don't get me wrong, but they're 25-point underdogs, and so if the game starts to sort of look like it's not going your way, then maybe you use that as an opportunity to see which quarterback can do his thing.
Speaking of NDSU season opening opponent down at the Citadel, which Maurice Drayton also said yesterday, we're going to play part of this, I think, tomorrow on the show, that we're going to play a bunch of true freshmen.
Yeah.
Not a great, that doesn't sound great. You don't know how good the guys are. But
he's also, I watched the press conference yesterday, and this guy seems like a really
great dude.
Great guy.
Yep.
He does. Yep. He seems to be open, although these coaches are Kevin O'Connell loved Sam Howell till he cut him 4 minutes later. So whatever. They're all coaches. They're all going to do their thing.
Yep.
But so on one hand, Maurice Drayton is saying, "Oh, we're going to play a number of true freshmen," and then on the next hand, he's saying, "I'm not going to say which redshirt freshman is going to get carries because we don't want to let NDSU know what we're doing." Okay,
really, what do we do?
It's okay, whatever. But then he also says, this is impressive, by the way. He was researching Tim Polasek and Dan Larson's background using his sources in Wisconsin. Yeah. Because Tim played Division III football at Concordia in Wisconsin, and Larson played at Wisconsin's coach there.
Yeah, he coached Eau Claire.
At Eau Claire. And so Maurice Drayton was doing his research going back to their Wisconsin days. Well, it's fantastic.
Did you notice he brought out the stat of how NDSU's played in 80 degrees or more?
Yes,
he threw that stat out.
He researched all their games when it was 80 degrees or above, which is the most overblown storyline.
Yes.
And God bless Maurice Drayton. He said from the start, he said, if we're relying on the weather to win the game, we've already lost the game. That's more of a media thing, like Dom and Jeff, more than anybody else talking about the weather, but that's whatever.
What are you most looking forward to on the North Dakota State side of things to watch on Saturday?
The quarterback. I want to see how the quarterback plays. Obviously the offensive line, you and I have beaten that to death too. And we were given permission this year by the head coach.
Yeah, we were given permission.
That's okay.
It's an okay question.
It's okay this year to
how do you
ask
say
questions.
it? It's a legitimate question, is what he said to me.
So Paulsek has given us permission to question the offensive line this year, so that's good. But I want to see how the quarterback plays.
Yes.
I mean, that's the number one. We assume, and it's always dangerous, that NDSU has found a way to have decent offensive lines for the last, 25 years. So we assume they'll continue to be okay there, even if there's some rough patches in the non-conference season. But I want to see how the quarterback plays.
First career start for Cole Payton, 58 career pass attempts in his 4 years. You watched his practice as much as I did. What did you see out of Cole Payton, the passer?
Yeah, I think what I wrote the other day, which is there was throws that he made where he just went, wow, woohoo, he's going to be just fine. And then there was other times I thought where there was some sort of mystery throws that were at the ankles and the shoe tops and things like that. We were at one practice where there were numerous interceptions thrown by both quarterbacks, him and Nathan Hayes. I asked Paulsek about it after practice, and he kind of smiled, and I said, fair question. He goes, but he also said we were also encouraging them to take risks and take chances to see what they could do. I know that, Tim, one thing he's talked about the entire fall camp was you're going to know where we are offensively and how much confidence we have by our 2-minute drill during games. Because last year with Cam Miller, like right away we said, we're just going to go. Just hit the accelerator, go with Cam because he knows it inside and out.
Yep.
By the end of fall camp, Paulsek said, I'm not quoting it's a paraphrase. It's like we like where we're at with the 2-minute drill. So we might be able to do some things that maybe we didn't think earlier in fall camp we're going to be able to do. So then that shows confidence in the quarterback. So that's my point is my amateur eye see some things. I don't know everything I'm looking at, but the coach has expressed confidence in the 2-minute drill, which he had said earlier was a big deal.
I think we talked about this, Kolpak and I did yesterday. I think defensively, and I think you're on the same boat, they could be really, really good on that side of the football this year.
Yeah, if they stay healthy, it's all FCS now. It's just one of the things that's going to be hit hardest for the best programs, NDSU, SDSU, et cetera, is the depth part. NDSU's always been able to absorb injuries to really good players.
Yeah.
I mean, last year they lost a couple of really good players to injury.
Sam Young was gone the half the season.
Yeah, and the defensive end, the young man who
Dylan Hendricks
struggled so hard to get back healthy, and then he got hurt on the last play of halftime at Southern Illinois, which is a whole different story in my book. But and so they lost 2 really good players, and they found a way to make it happen. Up front, if they lose a couple of guys, then we're going to see what they have. In the secondary, they have not an embarrassment of riches, but they're a lot deeper. They're a lot deeper this year than they were last year at safety and at cornerback.
Yep.
And I think the linebackers are going to be good.
That was what I was pointing to. Linebacker, they could be really, really good at that spot.
We keep going back to this, or at least I do every time I talk about NDSU. But again, Logan Kopp. Nobody's talking about.
No.
Maurice Drayton has talked about Logan Kopp.
He did. He did.
Maurice Drayton knows he's a football coach. He knows what to look at. Maurice Drayton's talking to going, this Logan Kopp kid is good. And so we just kind of forget about him. And again, no offense to Logan, but he's just quiet and does his job. And
first team all-league player.
Is a standout. And we just never really go, that's like an area to look at and say he's really good. And he's really good.
But the 2 guys playing next to him,
we think they're going to be good.
Are going to flash. Just Donovan Woolen, I think, is going to flash athletically.
We think they're going to be good. Yeah. Yes, we do think they're going to be good. It did not help that Enoch Sibomana transferred. That would have given them a senior guy that was really playing well at the end of last year, and that would have given them some depth there and some rotational opportunities. But he made his decision, and I think they're going to be fine at linebacker.
All right, let's break. We come back. We'll talk with Mike on Carson Wentz signing with the Vikings. Got a couple emails we'll get to as well. We wrap up our first hour. Back on a busy Tuesday morning. Hot Mike rolls on WDAY Extra and Forum.com right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour. Mike McFeely joining us here in studio. Got a couple emails so I get to going back to previous topic we were talking about. If SDSU does not roll Sac State, we'll be saying, yay, there's balance in the division, or the level of play is not what we expected. That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
SDSU is going to win by 30.
You cannot deny. Nobody can deny that the level of play in FCS has taken a step back.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. And that's the discussions I'll say that I have with guys like Sam Herder and others is you can't lose the best players from the subdivision every year
consistently
and then stay the same, because the guys coming down from FBS, there's a reason they're coming down. And no offense to anybody on any team. DJ Scott looks like he's going to be a fine player for North Dakota State. South Dakota State's going to have some good transfers. No personal jabs here, but you can't lose guys who are going to start in the SEC and start in the Big Ten and then say, well, okay, the fourth string guy from the Mountain West is going to be just as good. No. So it's just the level of play, which is one more reason why boom, boom, boom. NDSU has to get out.
Oh, man. All right, a couple of them. I'll save these for later. You wrote, actually, no, I want to talk on the Drags a little bit because we're going to have Laqua join us here in about 45 minutes. You were over there last week, and you were talking on this show. You gave it was a little last thing before you ran out the door about Dane Brugler projecting on Jack Strand, the quarterback at Minnesota State University Moorhead, that there is legit NFL buzz around the Dragons quarterback, so much so that the entire NFL is going to come to Moorhead to watch this guy, right?
The entire, but there's been as of last week there were 17
more than half than his
teams, and there's 3 or 4 more scheduled, and some had already talked about coming back again for practice or a game, and obviously some scouts can double up because there's a guy on the west side of the Red River who is drawing some attention too. But yeah, so this Jack Strand is a senior from Bloomer, Wisconsin.
Bloomer, yep.
He's holds all kinds of records at MSUM for passing yards, touchdowns, completions, attempts, all this stuff. And he is getting NFL attention because he is good. He's got a real strong arm.
He's a big dude.
And he is 6'5" and 204. I asked him, as I was BSing with him after I was done with the formal interview, I said, what do you weigh now? He said, 242 yesterday. I'm like, there's creepers.
6'5", 242.
6'5", 242. It's not like a pudgy 242. He's a big man. And so that'll
play
some legitimate interest in him and how much that's going to be. It's not. I don't think he's at this point not draftable. We're not talking drafting. I don't think. I think we're talking a undrafted free agent kind of guy. But a kid at Moorhead State is being scouted by the NFL. So hooray for the Dragons. Good for Steve Laqua. I'm sure you'll ask him about it. But I talked to Steve as well, and he just said I got out of the way at the first meeting of fall camp. Like, everybody just do their thing.
It's not. They're going to be here.
They're going to be here, and I think he kind of tried to softly massage it and say, "And they ain't looking at you. They're looking at." He didn't say that, but he didn't
say it, but he said it.
I kind of got the vibe, like he's like, "I'm not." They're not looking at you. They're looking at him. So everybody just do their thing, and we'll all be okay.
Man. We were in this position 10 years ago. 10 years ago this fall, when the NFL started coming around to look at North Dakota State's quarterback, and I remember then Carson was projected then as a second-round pick, right? Yeah. And then when we got the season going, it was, maybe at the end of the first round. We were in Frisco, and I remember Mel Kiper put it out, and Todd McShay were talking about it, the draft gurus at the time, that Carson could be a pick at the end of the first round.
Yep.
Wow. Holy cow, really? And obviously we know what happened. And Viking fans were hoping against hope that maybe he would be somehow a Minnesota Viking, and now here we are in 2025.
I'm not sure the Vikings fans feel the same way that they felt in 2016. I mean, there's been a lot of horses out of the barn and a lot of water under the bridge in those 9 or 10 years. But I think it just shows, number one, how bad Sam Howell was.
Yep. They traded for Sam Howell
to get him thinking he was going to be the backup, and I mean. Carson Wentz, there's some baggage there. Let's put it that way. And he really hasn't played for a couple of years. He backed up Stafford in L.A. and
we're seeing that now
in Kansas City, and he didn't really play a lot. But if you're the Vikings, you had to do something, and he was probably your best option out there because J.J. McCarthy, We don't know.
Don't know.
They don't know. They think he's going to be good, but they don't know.
I'm sensing a theme with our show today.
And the other thing is, and I looked some of this stuff up before I came over because that's what I do, is to have things to talk about, is there's been, in 2023, NFL teams started 56 quarterbacks.
Man.
There's 30 NFL teams?
32.
32 NFL teams. They started 56 quarterbacks. Guys get injured.
All the time.
Guys get injured. Kirk Cousins was the anomaly because he never got hurt until he
got hurt.
And then we found out Josh Dobbs was apparently an aerospace engineer.
Nick Mullins played that year, right?
So either between performance or injury, number 2 quarterbacks play a lot. And it's a thing. I've been doing some reading on this. I mean, teams they just look at the backup quarterback as, okay, let's get the 40-year-old washed up veteran, and it doesn't matter. Now it matters because they go through so many quarterbacks. And so I know Vikings fans don't want to hear this, and I got a call from one the other day that did not want to hear this at all. But Carson Wentz is going to play this year for the Vikings. That's my prediction.
Because JJ gets hurt?
Whatever.
Or ineffective?
Yep, sure. Either way. Carson Wentz will start at least a game or two.
If he's starting, that's not good news for the Vikings. I said that yesterday. That is not what they want to hear.
If J.J. McCarthy is really good or mediocre and doesn't get hurt, again, he will be an anomaly.
Correct. Yeah.
In the NFL.
Yeah.
That's my point. I'm not obviously not. I haven't been to a Vikings practice in 2 years, so I don't know what's going on. But just the chances are that Wentz is going to start a game or two. It's just the way it is.
With the injury history that's going on around the league, to your point. Yeah.
Although the Vikings have a really good offensive line.
They do.
Now.
They beefed up that.
So maybe McCarthy can stand back there and pick out receivers and everything will be just fine.
What receivers? They only have JJ. The other ones are hurt or suspended right now.
Just go get the guy
go
from
get
Detroit
Adam Thielen,
Lakes,
right?
Yeah.
And
I'm sure the Panthers will just give him away for a bag of balls and a kicking tee.
We have to end our segment with your Minnesota Gophers prediction. Gophers play the mighty Buffalo Bulls of the MAC on Thursday night at Huntington Bank Stadium.
More importantly, the Gophers are playing Northwestern State next week. Buffalo Bulls, I don't care.
The FCS Northwestern State Demons, yes.
Matt Entz could be coaching Buffalo right now. Yeah, the Northwestern State. So the Gophers, PJ Fleck will not play NDSU. He will not play South Dakota State.
Will not play South Dakota.
We don't know that. I know for a fact that he said he will not play NDSU and will not play South Dakota State. So they won't even play. He won't even play Southern Illinois or Illinois State. He's going to play Northwestern State, which has lost 33 straight games. And
is that bad?
Is just absolutely awful. Just a terrible FCS program.
But we got Buffalo first up.
Hooray. Go. Okay. They should win that game.
They also have a quarterback they don't know anything about. Drake Lindsay is going to be their guy.
Right.
So,
and by the way, have you noticed now how the Gophers and the Minneapolis media are now claiming Max Brosmer
as one of their own?
Oh, yeah. Seriously?
We talked about that yesterday on the show.
The guy spent 4 years at New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Everything he did was developed in New Hampshire. New Hampshire went out and recruited the guy. They got the guy to New Hampshire. He excelled in a mediocre FCS program. Fleck goes out and buys him for one. And now they're like, oh, look at us. Max Brosmer's our guy. No, shut up. What a bunch of knobheads.
There it is. Great to see you. We will see. Yeah, I know. I got you. Your shirt says it all. Have a great week. We will see you Friday in Charleston.
All right? Yep.
Mike McFeely joining us each and every Tuesday at 9:30. We'll break. We come back. Our guy Craig Haley will join us to preview the upcoming FCS season, some of the storylines he's looking ahead to. We'll do that when we start our second hour right after this.
This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 on a busy Tuesday morning, off and rolling. Steve Laqua, head coach at Minnesota State University Moorhead, will join us about a half hour. Dragon season opener Thursday night on the road at Northern Michigan. Pretty pumped to have our next guest on, who covers FCS football better than anybody. He is the man who gives out the Walter Payton Award. He gives out the Buck Buchanan, the Jerry Rice Award. He organizes that. Now he's got to get ready for Nashville, which is going to be fun. I think I first bugged him about 16 years ago when I heard that NDSU had a chance to make the playoffs, which is just quaint when you think about that, way back in 2010. Although when I texted him yesterday, I immediately regretted it because his Cincinnati Reds are going to pass the Mets any day for the final wild card spot. Craig Haley joins us, FCS Stats, who does an unbelievable job, and he does this every year. We preview the upcoming season. It's only a matter of days, right? The Reds they have Terry Francona. They're going to pass the Mets, so let's just get it out of the way now.
Well, one of us will be packing it in soon.
That's a good way to put. Also, both of us can do a victory lap. We can spike the football because the Ivy League is in the playoffs. We've been doing this for 15 years, and finally we will have an Ivy League team in the postseason this year.
Yeah, but now we have a new storyline. Will the Ivy League increase its 10-game schedule to to try and get 2 teams into the field? So I didn't know if it would ever happen. I mean, people in football in the Ivy League have wanted it for decades, and it was the presidents holding everything back, and there was a push from the student athletes, and it got it over the top. The Ivy League is here.
How interested are you to watch this year? I am, because I always like watching especially on a Friday night. They have their own night for football on ESPNU. Will you pay more close attention to it now that they get entrance to the playoffs?
I think the average fan, for sure. I've been around the Ivy League for 50 years now, believe it or not. So I've always paid close attention. There have been years where the Ivy League had some teams that could make a run in the playoffs. I'd say since COVID, when they skipped the entire athletic season, they have taken a little bit of step back as a league. Their teams haven't been quite as strong, but I do think that'll reverse again, and they'll start to get stronger, eventually play tougher out-of-conference games.
I was going to ask you about that. Have you heard any momentum on that? If they are going to expand to 11 games and start playing, I mean, people out here, the Bison would love to play. Let's go. Home and home in Harvard. Make it happen.
I do know it'll be the next issue. I don't think they have any immediate plans. I think that's a huge hurdle with getting the presidents to switch there, because you'd almost have to start earlier than they do now, which is generally like the third Saturday of September, and they play consecutively. So if they start late and go 11 straight weeks without a bye, and then a team has a playoff game, they hope to have multiple teams. That's asking a lot. So I think that's a long way off. I'm just saying that's the next question that we'll all be asking.
Start batting the doors. Hey, it only took us 50 years to make it happen for this, so hopefully we can make the non-conference games happen a lot sooner. You missed out on Overreaction Monday yesterday, so here it's Overreaction Tuesday. You have anything from week 0 that you took away to say, okay, this is something maybe that opened your eyes from what the games you saw on Saturday?
I think UIW Incarnate Word's effort was inexcusable to not be prepared for the Nichols defense. Their quarterback, Richard Torres, who's played well in the past, was not on target the other day for sure. You're a voter in the sport stats reform top 25 poll. I've been beating the drum on UIW since January. I had them number 3 on my ballot. They're number 5 in our preseason poll. Everybody got that wrong for sure. But again, I've really been out in front and saying this is the team, and boy, they just were not ready. That is the storyline of the weekend, how they just weren't even competitive. See,
I thought you were going to take my ballot away. You were going to say that because I voted him number 5 in the preseason poll. But yeah, that was stunning to see. I want to talk. We were visiting with Sam Herder about this yesterday, about the FCS kickoff game not finishing and how big a repercussion that can be, Craig, come November when Mercer and Davis only have 11 games on their resume, but yet they played. Like we have visual evidence that the game happened. How much do you think that could help or hurt in the committee room if it comes down to that?
I don't think it helps for sure. You're going to have one fewer game, one fewer quality game result. I think if it's close, a committee member could say, well, UC Davis was winning halfway through the fourth quarter. That's a positive they can say in the back of their mind. A Mercer, they could say, well, if it's close, then maybe you favor UC Davis. But if Mercer has a little bit of an edge, then you say, well, they made this nice run. They got real close. Could have, won the game with one more touchdown. But again, in the grand scheme of things, no, it's not helpful, because especially when you play teams that play the, sub Division I opponents. Now UC Davis doesn't anymore, and Mercer has been at times. that, you lose a game there that doesn't count on your resume. I just think, yes, this is a big issue. And it's unfortunate, but, it's not helpful at all.
I was enjoying the game Saturday, knowing full well this time next year, that week likely will be exclusive for the FCS. And I'm really interested how they take advantage of that, because networks love football games, Greg, that ESPN or Fox come like North Dakota State's going to play Incarnate Word next year to open the season. If that's something, heck, they can play the Thursday prior, that they come and move those games because they want football on, that the FCS has a opportunity to own that before FBS football gets going.
And that was also the whole point behind the FCS kickoff back in 2014 when it got started with Eastern Washington and Sam Houston. Hey, this is the spotlight. Year 2, let's make it a doubleheader. That never happened. There was great games early on, including the Bison, and some tussles with Charleston Southern and Montana. They never became an exclusive FCS. Now this opportunity, people are going to reach out and want to watch if you're just a casual fan. The hardcore fan is always going to be paying attention. So certainly a positive for the FCS. You're going to have to worry about weather, just the heat, the humidity, storms. That'll be an issue when there's so many games, going on and that early in the season. But again, it should be a way to draw even more focus to the FCS.
This also means we're going back to work a heck of a lot earlier because they're playing 12 games. We're going to be going back to work at the end of July to start out things. I want one last thing on week 0 before we move on to this week's games. We talked Tarleton as well. That's another program like Abilene that scared the heck out of South Dakota last year, won a playoff game. How are they more on your radar than maybe we should all pay attention to for what they did? They have an FBS game coming up this Friday with Army.
I think you've nailed it. I mean, I've gone from, not really even considering them to beat Army to seeing their performance last week against Portland State, 42-0. I give them a shot. In fact, I've done a top 10 ranking that I'm putting out today of FCS possibilities this weekend. I think I put them number 3, where they weren't even close to number 3 before today. You have that one fewer day, going from Saturday to the following Friday. You're going from Portland
coast to coast,
West Point with a stop back home. They're going to be a tired team, but they answered a lot that they could replace some of their offensive firepower. So, and Victor Gabel is having an experienced quarterback. They certainly caught people's attention, with this performance they had.
The game Saturday, I think we're all looking at Sac State, South Dakota State, just for the great unknown on each roster. What intrigues you about that matchup on Saturday night?
Well, I do think if I'm South Dakota State, I try and win it in the trenches, which, has been a difference maker against a school at a conference like a Sac State. I think Sac State, I think their lesson is to take a lesson from UIW, which had a lot of transfers. This Sac State has the most transfers out of everybody in the FCS, over 50, including a lot of FBS drop down. Now their talent is great, including at running back, but they have to gel. I think that's the lesson from UIW. Hey, we can't fool around. We're playing a South Dakota State. They have very good running backs. I give them a shot for that reason, but I do think the Jackrabbits just, really try and win in the trenches. Chase Mason will not be rattled at all.
I have to ask for the following week, the game in Bozeman with Montana State, South Dakota State. How big is that in your mind for the playoff committee to determine? Granted, they still have all their conference games to come, but when you have two heavyweights playing each other in a non-conference, how that can affect playoff seeding when we get to Thanksgiving?
I've seen the committee get better in recent years and really look at strength of schedule. And I think, yes, that's the game you circle out of all the non-conference games as being the best one. I think Montana State has a clear advantage being home for this game next week from this Saturday. But yes, I think you don't forget that one, however it works out. And I think it'll go a long way. You can forgive, you might have an extra loss in conference than some of the other teams not in the Missouri Valley or Big Sky, but a committee member knows what you're playing week to week in conference, how strong it is. So that kind of game, that's as good as an FBS win, to be honest with you.
I have to ask, in your own backyard, to bury the CAA, what in the world are they doing? I mean, 10 years ago, you and I were talking of this. They were the SEC of the FCS, for the Valley got its legs underneath them. I mean, with James Madison, with Delaware, with New Hampshire, Richmond, Villanova, they were winning national championships. They're all gone, and they're leaving in the next couple of years. And what they've added is not quality. I just, on the eastern side of the United States, and FCS football leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion, right now.
It's true. And the old guard, if you will, of the CAA, the ones that are, leaving and have left, are not happy with some of the additions. The league has gotten, got too big at 16, perhaps. And the new programs that came in, a Campbell, North Carolina A&T, a Hampton, even a Monmouth to some degree, haven't gotten over the top within the conference in these first few years in the conference. I think that has irked, Villanova and William Merrill will be leaving next year. Richmond left for the Patriot League this year. You lose Delaware. You lose James Madison. Those are the blue bloods of that league that just you can't really overcome. Especially the James Madison hit has been as bad as any out there in recent years. So again, I think they have to rally around what they have now and try and figure out how they can get stronger. But the new schools have not done well since they've moved in.
Well, now the Patriot League becomes way more appealing, at least to me. I'm sure to you as well, with the schools they added. Like, the Patriot League they were already good in football. They've certainly gotten more serious about football with who they added.
They've had a couple years where they've had an at-large bid in addition to the automatic qualifier, 2 teams. There's no reason in the world that starting next year they shouldn't have 2 every year. When you add a William & Mary and a Villanova, Richmond is certainly in the mix this year to win the league. You have Lehigh coming back with just about everybody. They're going to be tremendous. So they have a shot for two bids this year. I'm just saying next year it should even be for certain.
Couple minutes left here with Craig. You were on the conference call last week with the NCAA about Nashville and welcoming in the FCS. Give me your initial impression of that, and what are your either concerns or questions about Nashville now being the site for the FCS championship game?
Dom, I think a lot of people were just looking for something different, and it would have been in Frisco if they weren't renovating, FC Dallas Stadium or Toyota Stadium.
It's getting 9 names. It's okay. We went from Pizza Hut Park to Toyota Stadium in the 10, 15 years we've been down there. Sorry, go ahead.
I think the stadium size is right. About 35,000 for Vanderbilt Stadium, First Bank Stadium, and you get the right 2 teams, they probably will fill it, but it'll certainly won't be more than 18, 19,000 regardless. So I think that's probably the right size stadium. It sounds like they're bringing back the Fan Fest, which is kind of a nice event around. You don't want to just have a game and nothing else. That'll be an addition. I think there's so much to do in Nashville that'll, make fans happy, the nightlife. I think, they're going to, they want, Nashville Sports Council wants to take it beyond these 2 years. So they're going to do a slam dunk job, I would think, the next 2 years. So I think it's going to be a great thing. And at the same time, Frisco was good to the FCS.
I asked the guy who runs the Nashville Sports Committee about that, about trying to keep this, and he was emphatic in that answer when I asked him about, we want this beyond 2027, which perked my ears up. That I think you're right, and they have hosted other big events. They were talking about, I looked at the Opryland Convention Center for where the 2 teams are going to be, with a indoor water park. There's 2 separate entrances for the hotel. I mean, that alone, if there's one central location, if there's anything we know about football teams, they want to be in a spot, easy to get in, easy to get out. That was appealing to me, Craig. Like, okay, this might be something to take even more serious than beyond 2027.
Well, I think the Sports Council is probably rooting for the Bison.
There's no doubt. Yep, there's no
with the way
doubt.
The Bison travel. They won't tell you that.
Nope. No.
But I'm sure that's in the back of their mind.
Last thing before I let you go, you had a chance to interview Tim Polasek on your podcast. Give me your impressions of that. Did you find out anything you didn't know about the Bison head coach?
Well, Tim, Coach Polisek's awesome. He gave me something that I didn't realize, and I've worked on it ever since. A story, the middle eights, he calls it.
Yep.
The final 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second half. Turns out they were number one in point differential in the FCS last year. 2 years ago, South Dakota State was number one in that category. I've since found that out with a little research. It just shows you how big of a difference maker the end of the first half, the beginning of the second half can be for a team in the FCS. Actually, I looked at the top 22 teams in point differential in the middle eights last year. 18 had winning records.
Oof.
2 were 500. It's a story I've just finished writing. I'm going to put it out later today. That's something I learned from Coach Polisek.
That's a good nerd stat there. You also got into his time as a lumberjack. How informative was that?
That's a favorite here. I mean, to learn that I learned that through Jeff Kolpak's book, and it's been written about as well, and you've talked about it. I find that fascinating. I mean, you just learn a blue collar ethic, and it just shows in the way the Bison, they don't rest on their laurels. They go on to the next thing, and they do it right.
It's great to see you, bud. Have a great year. We'll catch up as the season goes along, and more luck to the Mets and the Reds is all I'm going to tell you, okay?
Good luck to the Mets, too.
Good to see you, bud. There he goes. Craig Haley joining us to get us ready for the 2025 FCS season. FCS Stats will be obviously putting out the poll each and every Monday. I've been fortunate to be a voter on that with Craig since 2011, 2012. And we'll put that out each and every week, and we'll get him on later on in the season once we start seeing where things are developing. But a lot of questions surrounding a lot of these teams. We think they're going to be good. We just don't know in 2025. We're overdue for a break. We'll caught up here. Got a few emails to get to. Steve Laqua will join us at 10:35 in anticipation of the Dragon opener on Thursday night. Back on Hot Mic on a beautiful Tuesday after this. Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget, of course, we've got the opener for you on Saturday. Bison Game Day is back for our 5th year, 10 a.m. Myself, Jeff Kolpak, Sammy G, and Kyle Emanuel will lead you right up to kickoff, which is at 11 a.m. I think it's at 11:02 for the Bison and the Bulldogs from Johnson Haygood Stadium in Charleston. Looking forward to that. Going to be dynamite. Looks like it's not going to be hot, like oppressively hot, which is great news for us. Maybe we can wear suits then for the game. We got nice ones. We should wear them. But it looks like the weather's going to be great. And looking forward to that for our 5th year. Our truck already left yesterday. They're making the winding journey from Fargo, North Dakota to Charleston, South Carolina. There's not according to our email we got, there is a direct route on US 52. Takes you from North Dakota to Charleston. I don't think they're taking that, but anybody else that wants to drive, there's a little shout out that you can do that. Let's get a few emails in here before we break. Dom, Quasey loves trading players for 6-round picks. I thought that was Spielman's deal. Didn't Rick Spielman used to do that all the time with the Vikes, that he would love to trade back and to get guys later in the draft that never end up playing for the team? That always seemed to be the MO, I thought, with the past management of the Vikings. Let's do one more. Dom, what do we think realistically, how many running backs will we see on Saturday? I think you're going to see 4 of them. I do. You're going to see Barika Penu get the start. You're going to see an awful lot of DJ Scott. I think you're going to see Miles Mitchell get worked in a bit with about 7 to 10 carries. Owen Johnson is going to be used as well. And it would be great to see him back after missing the last 18 months after horrific knee injury that he suffered up in Grand Forks. But that's what I would anticipate you're going to see for the Bison running back rotation to start, which is a area that Polisek's talked about. He thinks they're deeper. Frankly, he said he thinks they're better than they were a year ago. And last year, remember, it was basically 3. It was Marty Brown, it was Barika, and it was TK Marshall. Peter Haugo was the 4th running back, and he got moved from linebacker to running back on day 2 or 3 of fall camp. So that alone should tell you where they're at. Didn't even mention Cortez LeGrant, who I think will work his way in. Charles Ross is a true freshman, may get some run. That's something I'm working on for Inforum, and I'm waiting to talk to Polisic about it today during the press conference on the amount of true freshmen that are going to play on Saturday. I think it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that Ryan Babbitts is going to play, true freshman offensive lineman from Buffalo, Minnesota. Elijah Wayne is going to play, true freshman from Omaha, Nebraska, defensive tackle. Mitchell's a true freshman. So that's already 3. I think there's going to be a handful more. Marion Moore is another name from Madison, Wisconsin, cornerback that's going to play on Saturday. Barring any injuries, and from what I've heard, they made it out of camp relatively healthy, that at least those 4 guys, and I imagine maybe a handful more, that will play. Now, does that mean they play the whole season? No. At least they got the 4 games to do it. I think Babbitts and Wayne are already in the mindset that they're going to play the whole year. We're going to ask that later today, 1:30 for Polisic's press conference. You'll see live on WDAY Plus and Inforum.com. We'll break. We come back. A Tuesday staple returns to our program. Dragonhead football coach Steve Laqua joins us. MSUM ready for the 2025 opener on Thursday night. We'll preview that and much more when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Tuesday morning show, final half hour. We saved the best for last. I was mentioned off the top of the show for our next guest. We've been doing weekly spots on my show since I started doing daily shows, whether it was on the radio way back when to now. And he's always been gracious with his time and always gives us a good interview, which is all we could ask for. Steve Laqua joins us, head football coach at Minnesota State University Moorhead. The Dragons open up 2025 Thursday at Northern Michigan, which for those that don't know, you can give us where are you going? What town are you going to?
Marquette.
Marquette. See, I almost stumped him on the first question out of the chute.
I get on the bus, and then we just kind of arrive there, and I just follow whatever. It's always good for a good interview. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we've got it to at least one great.
Well,
that's what we're shooting for.
I'll stay away from any conversation on candy because I already know where you're at with Halloween. Because we won't go in that direction because you got the masses fired up on that. First, it's great to see you. Second, how did camp go, and to describe the anticipation for Thursday night?
Honestly, really great camp. We felt like we had a really good young group of players that just seemed like they got it early. They figured it out. We were able to progress really quickly. I think, what's important for us that we raised the floor, right, of our depth, of our special teams. And I thought that part worked great. There are some things we did different practice-wise that I think really clicked and hit. We'd kind of been moving that way in the last year. We kind of leaned in and went full bore into it. I thought that was great. We had some sessions where offensively we went against 13 and 14 defenders. And so it was a real challenge, for our offense, for Jack to find space. There's not a lot of room for error. And so it was really challenging. And I think we got a lot better. We developed a lot more guys on defense because we're playing more out there. We had a lot higher challenge level. And so I think those were some things that came out of it that I think really put us feeling good about going into game one, that we've had some challenging game-like situations. We've had some great development. And so I think, not that you ever feel great going into game one, but I think this is probably as good as we felt. And maybe that's because of having a lot of seniors. A big senior class at 22 guys makes a big difference.
Did that go into the scheduling of this, that you're going to go on the road with a big senior, and this is not a usual road trip that you have? Did that go into accounting to schedule a game like this?
Well, when you're trying to find a home and home, then you got to figure out who's playing home when. And for us, it seemed to make sense. We had a veteran crew to be able to go on a long road trip that's difficult. We certainly didn't handle that very well in McKendree last year. And so be able to do that with a veteran crew, a veteran quarterback in a dome on the road, it seemed to make sense for us to do it this year and then have the return trip next year when, you're going to have a new quarterback starting, and that gets to be in the friendly confines of Nemzik and be able to do that. And so I think that did go into the thought process.
All right. So I'm trying to think, the last time that you coached a game indoors, would that have been Dakota Bowl 2010? Is that accurate?
It would. You hit it right.
Wow.
And the last second field goal. last college game that I coached in the Dome was when I was at Crookston against MSUM in the Metrodome, and so that
Holy
was
cow! Wow.
2004, I think. So it hasn't been a lot of Dome games. I think 3 Dome games for me since 2005.
So the Superior Dome is where you're heading. That's where Northern Michigan plays its games. For your quarterback to be in a climate-controlled environment, you got to be just licking your chops potentially what you could do on Thursday night.
Well, you're definitely glad that you don't have to worry about that part. Hopefully that's an advantage for the Dragons. Now, at the same time, I've been in indoor facilities as a player, as a coach for a long time over at the Fargo. Those are different. It hits different when you're in. You just can't really prepare for that unless you have your own indoor stadium, which we don't. And so it is going to be a difference. Our guys are going to have to be ready for that. We've talked about it. And so it's going to be one of the obstacles. But, if you can overcome that obstacle, hey, you don't have to worry about rain, wind, any of that stuff. So that's definitely a good thing.
We were chatting before you came on, Steve, about the attention around your quarterback. I know you addressed it with your team. Can you tell us about that, of how you addressed it, knowing the NFL scouts were going to come to Moorhead to watch Jack this entire season?
Yeah, well, I showed him a video from the movie Cars. It's a cartoon race car movie that I think they probably all watched as kids. And there's this scene where customers come to this lone deserted place and they all have to act all crazy and weird trying to get their attention. And I just said, we don't need to have it look like this, fellas. Like, they're coming here, they're going to look at Jack. The rest of us can just do our deal and play. They're not here to see us. They're here to see him. Let's just go about business as normal. And honestly, guys have done a really great job of it. And I think, we've had 20-some practices, and I think there's only been 3 days that we haven't had a scout here. So it has been normal that a scout's been here, and I think our guys have handled that really well, including Jack.
What are they asking you about him, the scouts?
Their biggest thing is they want to know the character piece, what type of person is he, how does he handle adversity, what's he like as a leader, all the non-football stuff. They can stand there and watch him throw, and they'll figure that stuff out. They just want to know, that he's as good a kid as he is player, and he is. He's got no red flags. He's everything that you want, like your prototypical type guy that you want in your program and leading it.
Is he really 242 right now?
I think that is what he weighs.
Holy cow.
Great job in the weight room. He's worked really hard. He's a multi-sport athlete coming out of high school, and so he's really focused on that. It's important to him to have his body right, to be durable. He's revamped some of his throwing things. He's done a lot of work to get to where he is. He certainly is blessed with talent, but he's done a lot of work to get to this point, and we're hoping that he has a great season.
How much is this a champion for you on recruiting? That in the era now that we're at, and it's in Division II ranks, obviously with the portal, that you can put the work in and find a guy off the beaten path that maybe nobody else was looking at?
Well, I think it's definitely something that I would like to think that people take a look at us for and say, hey, we can develop players, and players want to stay here, not just for the football, but the other things. Yeah. And so not just maybe a quarterback, but I think wide receivers jump to the top of the list of those things. And we talked about, in Jack's case, it's very similar to, I think, Steph Curry's path, in the sense of Steph Curry was at Davidson. And could he maybe have been some other places? Yeah, but he was at Davidson because it was the right fit, because it got him a lot of reps. And so in whatever his 4 years at Davidson, he got a lot of development. Well, Jack Strand threw average of over 40 drop back passes, not play action, not RPO screens, but over 40 drop back passes last year per game. Well, if you look at what some of the other potential NFL quarterbacks, if they're getting 20 drop backs in a game, that's probably on the high end. And so his development for the next level is at twice the pace as other quarterbacks that maybe are in the same situation are. And so I do think there's an advantage to what we're doing here, if that's, an opportunity that may be there for quarterbacks in the future.
On the flip side of your experience, were there any true freshmen that developed during camp say, we got to play you like this, or these guys maybe surprised and say they can help us win right away?
Yeah, I think we've got a good group of guys, I think definitely that are going to play on special teams. I think there's some guys that are going to have a role on offense and defense, maybe not a huge role right away, but I think as they grow and they get their feet under them, I think we have to be smart about, hey, bringing them along to getting them to that point. I think, going in and saying, hey, you're going to be in a starting role right out the gate, that's probably, we won't have guys like that, but I do think we have guys that, hey, come week 4, week 5, they might be in a situation to be able to do that. They're certainly talented enough, and I think that's exciting looking forward to the future.
Is that when you look at your recruiting, going back to the recruitment piece, we're recruiting better athletes that can play right away? It's not necessarily maybe the guys that aren't talented here. We're getting better guys now.
Well, better guys, or we're hitting at a higher rate.
Yeah.
I think, the last 2 years, I felt like we've done a really good job in recruiting. And there was some talk about this in the sense of how the recruiting process, the timeline is sped up. And so, we're at, I think, 19 commitments right now, which is a month sooner than what it was a year ago. A year ago, we were a month sooner than what it was before that. So it's 2 months, in advance. Now, is it because the line is speeding up, the timeline for everybody, or are we doing a better job and we're maybe getting some of the first choices and they're saying yes, and we're not kind of getting into the next kind of round of guys? I don't know. But I certainly think Coach Needham's done a great job with the recruiting, and we found a wheelhouse of the type of guys that fit our system.
All right, let's give the defense some love. Tell us about that side of the ball and what you're really hoping to see, or some experienced guys that can step up in 2025.
Well, I think definitely our back end defensive back group is as talented as I think it's been. And that's not been something I think I've probably said in the last decade on this show. That's always the place you're maybe holding your breath. But I feel like that's a really good group. Cody Sorensen back for his 6th year, Mikhail Pearson, like really good players. Tate Gustafson at linebacker, I think, is poised and ready to have another big season. I think he came on as the season went, and I think he's played at a really high level. And so I think that back seven has got a lot of leadership, a lot of potential. That's going to be important because our front four, the D-line, they've had a lot to replace from last year. And so I think there's some talent there. I think there's some ability, but it's going to have to be proven. I think, a guy like Denver Piowski is going to have to show up and play well. He did the last half of the year. Well, he's going to have to be a difference maker, and he was, but now he's going to have to do it on a regular basis.
Gosh, I'm old. I remember all these guys playing in high school. Now they're like juniors and seniors for you. That's crazy.
Well, the crazy thing is, I just mentioned Denver Piowski. Yeah. He's kind of lives diagonally as my neighbor, and so I remember him running around playing tag, go seek in our backyard too. So it's obviously I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah, I remember we did a game of the week with him. He just dominated for Davies in 2020. I want to say it was just wild. So it might have been you probably were there recruiting if I remember right.
Yeah, he hit the sack record in half the season.
That's pretty darn good. So the longest you've ever been on a bus is what? This is 9. You told me. Is this the longest?
This probably, I think, is going to be the longest trip that I've been on a bus. And so I got a new audio book that popped in my Libby ad that I've been waiting for a week or so. So I got that. We'll see if we get into that or not. I don't know. I got to re-listen to one that I'm just finishing.
So does guys have control of the movies? You have any input on that? I know you're all very cultured these days. I know you watch a lot of stuff.
I usually don't have input. That's probably the only time I see movies that they're old enough they put a DVD on the bus. So we'll do some, since it's a long trip, and it's the day before, we'll do some one-on-ones with players and get a chance to connect and just see how things are going, not just football, but life-wise. Yeah. And so I enjoy those moments of just kind of hanging out and then you transition into a business like trip and make sure you get done what needs to get done.
You mentioned, we were talking off air, the dome where you're playing has a different kind of turf that you had to adjust for, correct?
Yeah, it's not something I realized. I kind of simple-minded me assumed every dome had the same kind of field turf, use your regular cleats on. And so this is a field turf that's like the one in Vermilion. And so the regular turf cleat shoes don't work. And so we had to figure out how to get different shoes to the guys that they're probably only going to use for one game. And thank goodness we had an awesome donor that saw a need, that wanted to be able to help out. And this is a great way to be able to do that. And so the guys have been breaking those in here the last couple of weeks. And I told them, hey, bring those shoes, bring basketball shoes, bring your normal shoes. We'll get in there and we'll figure out which ones you like best, but let's make sure that's not an issue of the game. Let's just play free.
Did you have any issues with that when you were playing days about your footwear?
Well, when you stand on the sideline, most of the time you don't have to worry about great traffic on your shoes. And when I was in there, it was AstroTurf, so you just throw on shoes and that stuff.
It was concrete. Just say what it was. It was concrete on the dome floor.
We'll say it was steel wool. That stuff turf burns. And when you got knocked down a lot, like myself, I had plenty of whatever field turf burns.
You were hustling back and you needed your cleats. You were going up and down the sideline, right?
Yeah. He's got to wave the towel, get the crowd going in there on third down.
Oh, man. It's great to see. We're really pumped to be doing this again every Tuesday. Safe travels. Good luck on Thursday night. We'll talk next week, okay?
That sounds great. Thank you.
There he goes. Steve Laqua joining us, MSU Ed football coach. Dragons opener Thursday night at the Superior Dome in northern Michigan. That's in Marquette for the Dragon opener. That's a 5 o'clock kick Central Time Thursday night at northern Michigan. Did you know I did not know, Eric, that they had a dome there. That was something I found out last week. Yeah, they have a dome. So the Dragons playing indoor. I got to go back. The last time maybe Big E knows us. The last time the Dragons played an indoor football game. It might have been when the old NSIC played their final games at the Metrodome. It's been a while since the Dragons played indoors. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll put a bow on things and get you ready for a busy Sports Tuesday. Hot Mike will wrap right after this. All right, wrapping things up here. Tuesday show in the books. Looking forward to later this week, getting ready for Bison opener. You'll hear from Tim Polasek. We'll play some of his highlight comments tomorrow on the show from his season opening press conference. We got a couple of Bison interviews we'll have later in the week as well. We're doing a little bit different with our Bison coverage on Hot Mic during the week. I'm looking forward to that, to frankly give you more than when we have in the past. So that we're going to make a slight tweak for that. We have our Bison Media Zone show coming up tomorrow at 10:30, our season debut of that. That'll go from now until March every Wednesday at 10:30 on a Hot Mic. So the final half hour of our show on Wednesday will be taken over by that. So looking forward to that. Thursday on the show, we'll get you fully ready for opening night in Minnesota high school football and a couple of dynamite games, including a game we'll have on Extra on Thursday night where Moorhead will make its debut in 6A football at home at Jim Goda Stadium, taking on the Rogers Royals. And the Star Tribune put out yesterday, it's top 25. This is all levels of football. It's not just 6A. It's top 25 teams in the state of Minnesota. And lo and behold, you'll see there on the screen coming in at number 6, the Moorhead Spuds, behind Maple Grove, who's the defending state champions. When they're talking about Caden Harney on that, he's committed to go play at South Dakota State. Minnetonka, who, by the way, the Spuds play both of those teams. Maple Grove comes here. I believe they go to Minnetonka. Shakopee. Edina, the Spuds go there. Forest Lake is really good. Then the Spuds. And then Elk River, who's an old rival of Moorhead, who they battled with countless times in the postseason. So if Moorhead is in this conversation, it's not just us here talking, hey, the Spuds will be pretty good. No, the people down in the Twin Cities are waking up to the fact. And that's why it's so, to me, so interesting to see what is going to transpire with these teams coming up here. We've done the deal. We've seen Moorhead go down to the Twin Cities and play. But now to have those kind of teams routinely coming to the Fargo-Moorhead area is, to me, electric. It really is. You're going to see some dynamite. That Maple Grove team, folks, is legit. Not only are they the reigning state champs, they have, I believe, 7 Division I commits back for 2026. Couple are going to UND. Couple are coming to Fargo. One's going to South Dakota State. They're okay. That's coming up, I believe, middle of September is when the Crimson are up here. It's going to be fascinating. I believe we're going to have Feeney on the show on Thursday to preview opening night, which is going to be fantastic. If we can get the orange on orange look, that's all they're missing now for 6A football is orange helmets. But looking forward to that coming up later on in the week. We've reached that time of the year, folks. We got games happening. It's just fantastic. All right, let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. What to Watch is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. Reminder, tonight we've got our WDAY Extra Game of the Week. We're back with volleyball tonight. Soccer tonight. Volleyball comes up next week. We got South and North tonight from the north side of town. 7 o'clock on WDAY Extra. You can check that one out tonight. Also on WDAY Plus and Inforum.com for South and North. That comes up later tonight. Also going on tonight, got Twins and Blue Jays if you want. 6 o'clock on Twins TV. The U.S. Open rolls on. Good matchup tonight on MLB Network. Reds and the Dodgers. We need the Dodgers to win. Help out the Mets. Our thanks to Steve Laqua, to Craig Haley and Mike McFeely. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Tim Polisic presser coming up at 1:30. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow.